How's it going, guys? Today we're going to be going through one of the lessons in my school community, which actually just released a couple days ago, and we're going to go through the lesson about circadian rhythm. So, the sleep-wake cycle. The circadian rhythm is regulated by our sleep-wake cycle. It controls how cells and organs react to environmental seasonal changes such as radiation, temperature, and food. A disrupted circadian rhythm can have tremendous effects, leading to severe health implications on organic systems, including the immune, reproductive, gastrointestinal, skeletal, endocrine, renal, and cardiovascular systems. This is because all of your organs and tissues all have internal clocks. And if these clocks are not synchronized, then there's going to be problems because all of the cycles are going to be mismatched. Your digestion, your nutrient absorption, all of the organ functions are going to be mismatched to the time. So light signals are very important for this because the light goes into your eyes, through your eyes, into the brain, and into part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Suprachiasmatic nucleus. That's a hard word to say. This synchronizes hormone release, metabolism, and sleep-wake cycles to the natural light-dark pattern. So when you stay up late under artificial light, and especially blue light because it's the strongest influence on the SCN, the SCN receives mixed signals, delaying melatonin release and keeping cortisol elevated. So your cortisol is elevated when it should be dropping in the night and higher in the morning. It should be a gradual slope from the morning to night, right? And this can lead to insomnia, fatigue, and metabolic dysfunction. You want to keep a consistent bedtime. This is very important because your brain, all these internal clocks work on a 24-hour cycle. So you also want to dim the lights after sunset. So this can be, especially down lights are so bad, especially down lights. This is just radiating all of that light onto your skin, into your eyes, into all your organs because the light goes through your skin. And you want to avoid artificial screens, because these are really bad. They're full of blue light, they're flickering, which raises cortisol even more. So keeping it consistent bedtime, dimming lights after sunset, and avoiding screens help prevent this pathological disruption, ensuring melatonin is released at the right time to promote deep restorative sleep. A cool, dark sleeping environment further reduces nighttime arousals, preventing chronic sleep fragmentation that is linked with immunosuppression and impaired brain detoxification. So you want your room to be cool before you sleep because your body temperature should naturally be lower as you sleep. And morning light, full body exposure, morning light in the eyes, on the body, on the skin, is the strongest cue for resetting your circadian rhythm because the blue rich sunlight in the morning activates cortisol, which inhibits melatonin. So your SCN will stop melatonin secretion. And without this signal, melatonin may linger in the day. So you're going to be groggy. You're going to be, low mood. And also, yeah, your glucose handling is going to be impaired. This will also entrain your dopamine pathways, improving alertness and motivation. And movement in the morning enhances the peripheral clock gene synchronization in muscles and metabolism. Seasonal eating is super important as well for your circadian rhythm, because the light signals the temperature strongly influence how the body processes food, how it deals with different macronutrients. So in the summer, in the spring, the higher UV is going to raise nitric oxide. This is going to help with your insulin sensitivity because of the vascular dilation. The high vitamin D levels are going to help with mitochondrial function, dealing with carbohydrates. And when you're in the summer, you're going to be moving around more naturally. So the carbohydrates are metabolized more efficiently and minimal fat storage occurs. But in winter, the low UV and the cold temperature, these both reduce insulin sensitivity and circulation. So if you're eating a lot of carbs in the winter, your blood glucose is going to remain. You're going to have a lot of glycation, right? And you're going to have fat storage, insulin resistance, potentially, right? Definitely going to stress your mitochondria. And this is because it's mismatched with the seasons. Seasonal eating was never like a cultural thing. It's a deep evolutionary trait that we must follow, that every animal follows. We're all adapted to eating the right foods in the right seasons because naturally that's what we would do. But we've moved out of that since we started cultivating foods. We all have GMO fruits now and stuff like that, and we just eat a lot of processed food, so it doesn't matter. Um, you know, the season, it's all fortified, it's all just waste products anyway. So we can see seasonal eating is not just cultural, it aligns diet with circadian and environmental signals. When foods are mismatched to season, circadian clocks desynchronize, hormones misfire, and the body reacts pathologically. High evening glucose, suppressed melatonin, fragmented sleep, and increased risk for obesity, mood disorders, and cardiovascular disease. So, rest and digest is a state that your body wants to be in when you're about to sleep. This is the parasympathetic nervous system, um, contrary to the sympathetic or fight or flight system, right? So, you're going to have a lower heart rate, um, your digestion's going to work better, you're going to be relaxed, you're going to be recovering, and you're not going to be metabolizing as fast. You're going to be conserving energy. So, this is when you're preparing for deep sleep, cellular repair, and this is when your melatonin should be high. That's what gets you repairing your body. But this melatonin release is going to be, inhibited by things like loud noise, exertion, or even electromagnetic frequencies, because these all trigger a cortisol release. They're stressors. And cortisol and melatonin are antagonistic, so they have an antagonistic relationship where they inhibit each other. So when your cortisol is going to be higher than it should be at night, your melatonin is going to be lower than it should be, and it's going to inhibit your sleep, inhibit your repair pathways. So this is a state you should be in the morning. When your cortisol is high, your melatonin is going to drop. Then you're gonna have like you're gonna not be sleepy, right? But you should be sleepy at night. You're gonna be in a daytime physiological state. So your sleep, so you're not gonna get to sleep fast enough. So this is gonna reduce your growth hormone release. So reduce your repair pathways, reduce your growth pathways. So if you're still developing, this will inhibit your growth, right? Chronic nighttime cortisol spikes desynchronize circadian clocks in the brain and peripheral clocks. Over time, this results in fragmented sleep, impaired memory consolidation, reduced immune activity, and elevated inflammation. Metabolically, persistent evening stress worsens insulin resistance and increases nighttime glucose, which further suppresses deep sleep and promotes fat storage. This is because your pancreas is synced with the SCN, so when you're getting light signals, your insulin is going to rise, as it should during the day, and if your insulin rises, but your insulin sensitivity doesn't rise with the light signals, you're just going to have a lot of floating insulin and a lot of floating glucose, thus protecting the dark period from stress, avoiding loud environments, intense exercise, or emotionally activating activities ensures melatonin rises properly. Keep electronic devices away from you as you sleep, especially if they're charging, and preferably switch off Wi-Fi or wireless signals at night. These are very high frequency EMFs, very damaging. Frequencies like those can raise cortisol and prevent melatonin release. When melatonin is allowed to dominate at night, the body enters its natural repair phase, promoting mitochondrial renewal, tissue recovery, and circadian balance. Yep. So, how do you reset? So, the circadian rhythm depends on synchronized cues from light, food, and stress, consistent sleep schedules, and morning sun anchor the body's internal clock, while mismatched lighting at night or erratic routines delay melatonin, elevate cortisol, and fragment recovery. Seasonal environments also shape metabolism. High UV and warmth enhance insulin sensitivity and glucose handling, whereas cold, low UV periods favor fat oxidation and ketone use. Eating summer foods in winter conditions disrupts this balance, driving inflammation and insulin resistance up. Another thing I want to add with the seasonal eating, when you're eating a lot of carbohydrates in the winter, your deuterium levels are going to rise, which is unoptimal for fat oxidation, especially. And this is also going to be bad because it's going to accumulate because you don't have the UV to detoxify it. The sun helps you detoxify deuterium through the Krebs cycle. Finally, nighttime stresses such as loud noise or exertion spike cortisol, suppress melatonin, and block the brain's repair state. Together, these mismatches desynchronize circadian clocks across the body, impair sleep, metabolism, and immunity, and gradually shift the system toward chronic disease, while realignment with light signals, seasonal cues, and stress-free nights restores resilience and balance. And this is something I've done, the reset protocol. I did it accidentally and I just discovered this works really well. I was camping and I just slept in a cave and it was on the coast so I could just see the sun rise, right? And I was just outside all day, so I just had all the light signals. I watched the sunset go down over the hill and then, you know, just set a fire, no artificial light, and went to sleep. So you have to watch sunset. This is critical because you're going to be getting those light signals that the sun's going down, melatonin's going to rise, it's going to lower your cortisol. You don't want to eat after sunset because that's your rest and digest state that you want to be in. You don't want to disrupt that, right? You want to have no artificial light at all, and you want to sleep outside. So sleeping outside will help you get all of the light signals. It'll help you sleep because it'll be cool. Hope it's not too cold though. Um, This way your light signals will be completely natural and aligned. You will fall asleep quickly from the darkness and cold, and will wake up easily before or during sunrise from the bright light and the birds. The birds are especially good as well. So if you're sleeping inside, that's just the reset protocol. You don't have to do this every night, by the way. That's just what I did, and I reset my circadian rhythm, and it's been pretty good ever since. So what you can do, open your window, right? So you want to have the cool breeze coming in, the fresh air, that's really good. You want to have the birds singing, you want to be able to hear that. You also want all of the light signals coming in your window. Obviously, you can't get all of them with the glass, but because glass blocks 40% of the spectrum, but it helps to get the blue light through when the sun's first coming up. It'll help you wake up, definitely. Um, and so that's how you reset it. But main thing is I would avoid as you continue after that. Definitely mainly blue light, but also all flickering lights are bad. Especially bad is overhead downlights, LEDs, lots of blue light. Better thing is get a lamp, a non-flicker lamp or incandescent that doesn't have flicker, and you want it to be warm or red. So this is especially good. Um, ideally you wouldn't have any screens after dark, but for some people that's not possible. So use a red filter, use red light glasses, and turn off all the electronics before you go to bed. Ideally a little bit before you go to bed. Stop eating after sunset. And of course you want to watch sunrise and sunset every day. Always. It's very important. And you also want to go out. You want to be outside during midday too, because that'll help sync the 24-hour system. You know, the ideal, what I'm getting at is the ideal. You want to have no artificial signals, no artificial light signals, no artificial stress signals, like from the EMFs. Um, you know, no disrupting food, right? So ideally, you just be outside all day, no artificial light, right? Because then you'll be completely synced. But that's not really possible. We have to be inside sometimes, especially me because I do YouTube and TikTok, so I have to be inside. But yeah, that's basically it. Uh, if you'd like to join my school, there's a link to it in the bio. There's also a link to private coaching. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.